Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 5 of the Timist Podcast Series. My name is James, and I am the Timist and the host of the thing you're currently listening to. In this episode, my co-host Conor and I run through a proper recap of the biggest watch-centric event of the year that recently wrapped up, namely Watches and Wonders 2024. We also go behind the curtain and ask Conor what these past 2 weeks have been like, given that he's an actual AD living through the Watches and Wonders madness. Lastly, we close things out with a Q&A session. I put out the call on Instagram, and you awesome people answered, sending me your questions. All this and more. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a snack as we get started. Conor, welcome to episode 5 of the Timist Podcast Series. How are you, my friend?
5 episodes? Really?
That's what it is.
Wow.
Shall we walk through maybe what the agenda for today looks like?
Yeah, let's let them know.
Okay, well, let's do a quick intro and start with a very unusual for our podcast. What's on your wrist today?
I've got my Black Bay 58 on today. Love this watch. I got it for a special occasion, and I probably wear this watch the most. Just love the dimensions, the color, the style. I originally had on the NATO that it comes on, that kind of black with the gold. Still love that, but lately I've been wearing it on the steel bracelets. No, I don't mind the faux rivets. In fact, more faux rivets.
Oh my.
I wish it was an absolute hedgehog of faux rivets.
Not
really, but it doesn't bother me. I know it really bothers people. I don't lose sleep over it. I don't know.
You've triggered a bunch of people right now. You know that, right? What am I wearing? I'm glad you asked. I'm wearing the 2024 BLRO, which was a secret for the longest time, but now since I've revealed it on Instagram at the Timist IG, I can talk about it. It is the 2024 Pepsi GMT Master 2. Yes. What do you know about that?
I know that BLRO is Pepsi in Swiss.
That's right, because bleu and red.
Men of culture.
Thank you. I tried.
It's a great looking watch. It looks super good. I like it.
Thank you. I am over the moon. I've literally worn it every single day since getting it. I mean, I'm talking about, I work from home basically 99% of the time. I'll wake up, I'll do my morning, prep routine, and I'll just put it on, and I'm in my like chill at home clothes because I work from home.
The watch looks polished and clean as could be.
Thank you. All right, shall we go on to the news?
So much news.
Watches and Wonders 2024 is done.
Oh my gosh.
It's in the bag.
Buy your tickets for next year.
I do want to share some information that I found out actually from an anonymous source reached out to me on Instagram, and they shared some juicy information that I would like to share with our listeners. It's actually common knowledge. I think Patek actually put out a press release for it, but I figured that it can't hurt for us to bring it up here.
What do you know? I haven't actually heard this. What is the news?
So Patek have unified, quote, they've unified their water resistance criteria. So basically what that means is all of their dive compatible sports watches will now be marked as 30 meters of water resistance. This is because they're trying to supposedly make it less confusing when it comes to static versus dynamic water resistance. What it also means is that all future Aquanaut and Nautiluses, all the Nautilus watches and Aquanaut watches in the future will no longer be marked as 120 meters, but rather 30 meters to essentially remain consistent. So yeah, all of this supposedly to wow us in the very near future with the introduction of the as of yet to be released sports model known as the Cubitus or Cubitus. I don't know. It's unclear if this is actually the real name or if it's just a shipping working title type of thing, but we'll see. But yeah, basically Patek is saying, hey, if it says 30 meters, that means it's a true 30 meter rating, as in you can go scuba diving with it, static or dynamic measurements, be damned.
Oh, so when you say true, watch brands rate it in terms of atmospheric units.
Yep.
300 meter means a pressure equal to 300 meters, not necessarily 300 meters underwater. So if you're in the hot tub, you might only be whatever, a meter and a half underwater.
Yep.
Hot tubs, whatever, something like that, a meter underwater. But if you put that bad boy right next to the jet of the hot tub, you're simulating much more than a meter of water, and water could get inside.
That's right.
Okay, so wait. If you have a watch from Patek, a sports model, like you mentioned, and it says 120 meters on it, is that like wrong? Or does that mean that's atmospheric units and they're actually saying it's 30 meters? Or are they saying this is for the current and ongoing releases, everything's 30.
All new models will be 30 meters unless explicitly called out on the dial. So,
Okay.
yeah, imagine 120 meters of like ideal water resistance, right? With varying scenarios. So different pressures depending on what you do, like you say, static versus dynamic. Am I putting my hand 1 meter into the water, or am I putting it into 1 meter of water and vigorously shaking it, causing the pressure to essentially alternate and change?
Interesting.
But right now what they're saying is they're just trying to simplify it. Hey, if it says 30 meters on it, it is 30 meters. So if it says 30 meters, it's 30 meters. It is a bit confusing because they're the only ones doing it within the industry right now, so far as we know. And also 30 meters sounds a lot less impressive than 120 meters, even if it's actually more appropriate in real life scenarios. But it like really doesn't matter for me personally, because I'll tell you what, if I owned a 5712 Patek, I'd never wear it in the shower. Or in the pool that I don't have, and definitely not scuba diving. That's not happening. I guess they're trying to simplify it by saying when we say 30 meters, it is true 30 meters. So unless you can exert more than 120 meters of theoretical pressure, you could take this Nautilus straight down 30 meters.
Well, it's a good example of clearing something up and also making it more complicated.
Yeah, no, it's
Because true, what are you calling them? True meters or whatever that is?
I'm calling them true meters.
I mean, that makes sense. It's just, it's not really how watches are currently measured. And so that is a little odd. But, you know, realistically, in theory, you're buying a Patek from a Patek AD and they're going to explain all this to you. It shouldn't be an issue, but
we'll see.
it's a little confusing.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah.
Right. It's also weird when you see, well, you'll see two different generations or two different iterations of a Aquanaut, one that says 120M and one that says 30M. And you're like, well, they're really the same, but different, but they're the same.
Yeah, a little asterisk next to the 30.
Yeah. That'll go down well.
Yeah.
There's another bit of news tied to Patek that I'd like to share.
Oh, boy.
This is kind of a big deal. They actually extended their international warranty on all of their watches from what used to be 2 years now to 5 years. So all new models starting from May 1st, 2024 will be covered under warranty for 5 years, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I see.
Up until today, they only came with a 2-year warranty?
That is correct.
2 years?
2 años.
That's the minimum. European Union states that you have to have a 2-year warranty on these parts. That's the least you can give.
But, I mean,
It's a Patek.
it's not expensive, so relax.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
How much does a Longines have?
2 years.
2 years. How much does an Oris have?
You can get up to 10 on in-house models.
Yeah.
In-house movements, I mean.
There's a reason I asked that question.
Richemont Group, you can have 8, but 2 is the minimum. Like 5 is good, 8's really good, 10's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say 5 I would consider like the Rolex Omega, like that's good.
Mm-hmm.
In-house movements from Tag, you get 5, and there's different ones that have different extensions. But
There it is. Good job.
yeah, I mean, hey, it's increasing the warranty. That's a lot of value.
Yeah, it is something that I was surprised by, just as much as you were. I would have assumed that it was at least 5. It is Patek we're talking about.
See, because it's Patek, it makes me wonder where the pressure's coming from. Like, was it coming from their core collector base? Was it coming from, I don't actually really know a lot about the Patek marketplace and kind of watches of that caliber, but like, are they having more competition from other brands than they have in the past? Or was it just, hey, this was always something we intended to do, and here we are in 2024 and we're making it happen like we planned out X years ago? I have no idea, but interesting.
Yeah, same. Let the theorizing begin.
Well, now buying a Patek is a good deal.
Oh, yeah. Up until now.
30 years of water resistance plus a 5-year warranty? Dang.
How can you say no?
It's like a Hydro Conquest.
And that's it for the news. Do you have anything for the news?
Yeah, no, everything's watches and wonders. I got notes and notes and notes.
Excellent. Well, then let's move on to the spotlight section, which is let's recap and go over some of our standout releases from Watches and Wonders. Do you want to kick us off?
Okay, so let's cover just kind of new stuff from the Crown. I think that'll be a good jumping off point. We can go from there. I say the most probably desired new release in a lot of ways is, of course, the GMT Master 2 with the black and gray bezel.
Let's pause right there. Do you like the quote-unquote Bruce Wayne moniker?
I don't like the Bruce name.
All Bruces have just been offended. Good job.
No offense, Bruce. No, I don't really like that name.
Because you were thinking...
Because I like the name Guinness better.
You like the name Guinness.
It's keeping with the drink thing. I know Guinness is more like black and cream. Doesn't really make sense to me. Like Batman wears black and gray. Bruce Wayne doesn't wear black and gray.
Yeah.
I mean, Batman wore black and blue in like the 60s and like kind of through the 80s and 90s, but he hasn't worn blue in a really long time.
Yeah, Adam
More
West.
of a black and gray guy, honestly.
Yeah.
I like the watch.
Yeah.
I've always personally thought, and I think GMT Master 2 is a great watch. I'm looking at the one on your wrist right now. Great watch. Especially on the Jubilee, I find it to be very flashy. Big bezel, opposite colors, fairly large watch, Jubilee bracelet, just a lot going on. I'm not saying I dislike it. I just find it to be quite in-your-face flashy. So I like the black and gray a little more. Really like the green hour hand and the green text. So for me, it's a win. My hope is that along with a new GMT, we have increased production.
+1. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I really like the new black and gray GMT Master 2. I'm a big fan. What else do you have on your docket from the Crown?
Oh, watch that came out last year. One that I absolutely adore, the 1908.
Nice.
Now available in platinum.
Yes.
With the, I guess, customary ice blue dial.
The signature move at this point.
Signature move, this time with guilloche.
Right. Because the standard came in black and white, but it wasn't guilloche. It was just flat. It was a matte.
It was a matte.
Thoughts, opinions?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Super cool. Gorgeous. Love it. I think it's lovely. I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be super desirable color. Great watch. No complaints.
$31,000?
Or 30 and change, something like that.
30 and change. It's a very, very nice watch. Ooh, question for you. Out of the blue, curveball. Patek Calatrava or Rolex 1908 Platinum?
I'd go with the 1908.
1908?
Yeah, I would go with the 1908. It just has a little... The features are more alluring to me.
With brown leather strap or black leather strap?
I would probably go black. Yeah. And I like the green on the interior.
You're a good man. I knew I liked you.
There you go.
+1. I'm a big fan of the 1908 in platinum. Very, very pricey, but beautiful, beautiful watch.
Platinum watch is always going to be expensive. There's no getting around that.
I'm curious to see one in real life, just to feel it, just to feel that platinum weight. A lot of mass. What else is on the list?
So a lot of new options for day dates.
Oh yes, there's like 30 plus.
Yeah, a lot of new options. One thing that I kind of thought was interesting is they've sort of redone the Roman numerals.
Where they're segmented.
Yeah, so they're using the terms deconstructed, which means, or at least is that what their interpretation is, that every numeral is several components, which is fitted together.
I like that.
It's also faceted, like a diamond, so it has more shine and sparkle. This is, obviously, it's going to be more attractive. It's going to be shining more, but it's also to increase legibility because there's no lume on a day-date's numeral, especially these Roman numeral ones. So
you want the light to be caught.
Yeah, exactly. Like it'll essentially, if you were trying to read it in the dark, it would reflect any kind of light, including, moonlight or just faint light. So the idea is that it's kind of nicer to look at, but also increase legibility. And it looks cooler.
Absolutely.
That's one of the new things. Whole bunch of new dials. Really, really like the ombre dials. Ombre, in case you don't know, means shadow. And it basically has a black lacquer finish on the kind of, I guess, the exterior, or not the exterior, the far sides of the dial.
Outer edges.
There we go.
Yeah.
The outer rim.
The outer rim.
And then, fades towards the center into a sun ray finish of whatever color the dial is. Basically, it was on the 36 exclusively with diamonds. It's now on the 40 and the 36 with and without diamonds. So if you have a green dial, that's on yellow gold. A blue dial is on white gold. And a slate dial, which looks really cool and I've yet to see on the Everrose day dates.
Wow.
So
that sounds like
new day date options.
Yeah. I believe that the ombre black on yellow gold was debuted. It wasn't really debuted, but it was seen on Martin Scorsese's wrist, I think, at one of the awards ceremonies. And I think that's when spotters spotted it.
Yeah, he's sort of an ambassador for them.
Yeah. AKA now known as the Scorsese. I believe.
There's also, for the 40, the day date 40, there is a pearlized mother of pearl with diamond baguette hour markers.
Yes.
Very shiny, very cool, very pretty. Also kind of making mother of pearl a bit more good for a male audience. Mother of Pearl has kind of been focused towards women's lines almost exclusively in the watch world. We're seeing it now on Day-Date 40s, which, I mean, anybody can wear these watches, but you know what I'm saying. On the Day-Date 40, as well as all those new Daytonas, which we'll talk about here in a second. So
the Rolex Day-Date Mother of Pearl dial with the platinum case and bracelet on the fluted bezel with the baguette diamond hour markers, for me, it literally stopped me in my tracks. Not that I was moving out and about, but like I froze. It's $65,000. This watch is pure class, in my opinion. It is my new definition of what stealth wealth is. 36 millimeters. It's not huge, but you get that weight from the platinum. And given that it is platinum, it doesn't scream as loud as yellow gold. You know what I mean?
I don't know about stealth.
I mean, come on.
Baguette diamond hour marker.
They don't yell. I mean, so you got that Mother of Pearl. You've got that iridescent, beautiful effect from the Mother of Pearl, which kind of encompasses and kind of hugs the baguette hour markers, and so they don't yell as much. Like if it was a black dial, they would definitely stand out more, but they kind of blend in a bit more.
You're putting a silencer on a 50 caliber. It's like, yeah, it's quieter, but
it is.
It's not stealthy.
It's
still loud.
It's classy. It's crisp. It's cool. It's clean. It's a nice combo. It's just got such a warmth and depth to it. I mean, if you look at it up close from images that I've seen online, it's stunning. It's just, you can get lost in that dial, and each dial is unique, right?
Yep. Like the meteorite in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, our theory was that, meteorite becoming rarer and rarer. And so now we're transitioning to Mother of Pearl.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, it's more accessible. Even though Rolex is extremely picky about the Mother of Pearl they use, meteorite was not really a sustainable resource.
No. Sadness.
The other thing regarding day dates is that the 36 has a new trapeze cut diamond bezel.
Yeah, what's up with that? Because I messed around with the configurator, and boy, let me tell you, if you use trapeze cut diamonds in the bezel versus, what are the other ones? Cushion?
I think they're round brilliance.
Round brilliance, yeah. Yes. Boy, oh boy, is there a price difference. Not that I'm in the market, but holy cannoli.
Well, we'll talk about that maybe more when we get into the Daytonas, which will be next. But the trapeze cut diamonds on the Day-Date 36 were previously only available in platinum. They're now on the other precious metals, and they have baguette diamond hour markers. So a lot of diamonds going on. I think clearly this is a direction that Rolex wants to be in.
I mean, honestly, it feels like somebody did like a evaluation of their raw materials, and someone went, you know what, we have too many diamonds and too much gold, so we're going to make a 330 gram deep sea in all gold, right? Because we have too much gold, and then just put diamonds in all the bezels.
Just running around, too much gold, too much diamonds. We can't close the vault door. I think it's always important to remind ourselves, because I saw a lot of this going on, and I'm guilty of this too, of like, who is this for? Right? Like, what? I don't want that. Here's me being someone else. Bring back the Coke, bring back the this. I want to see more of this. And then they do this. But I think it's important to remember that watches is not just for you. It's not just for me. It is for everyone. And while the biggest gold watch ever made by Rolex does not personally appeal to me, as in a watch that I'm interested in buying, it is for someone.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be a watch that you see 10 of somewhere. Like, it's a really big, if you're saying 300 grams, I'm guessing it's well over $50,000.
It's going for around 53.
Oh, right. I shouldn't guess. It's on the website. I could have just looked. But yeah, I mean, it's for someone, right? Someone saw big gold, blue dial, blue bezel Rolex and said, heck yeah, man, I love that watch. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And so it's for that person. It might not be for you, might not be for me, but it is for someone. And, they'll be able to get this watch most likely eventually.
The color combo is really cool. And my instant reaction was like golden anchor. It is, it is a beauty. It is very large and very, very heavy. And I'm very excited for the person who wants this watch because, not for me, for someone else, but interesting.
There's an interesting thing with the Sea Dweller and the Deep Sea. So the Sea Dweller is the family of watches. And one of those watches in the Sea Dweller family is the Deep Sea. So if you have a Deep Sea, it says both Sea Dweller and Deep Sea on the dial because it's a member of the Sea Dweller family. Well, those families are now separated. The Sea Dweller is its own line of watches. The Deep Sea is its own line of watches. So from now on, the Deep Sea will just say Deep Sea on the dial. It will not say Sea Dweller Deep Sea.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so, the Deep Sea now has a steel version and now has a solid gold version. Maybe the Sea Dweller can run off and start its own family now.
I hope it does, and I hope it ends up in titanium.
Yeah. Why they did it, I couldn't tell you. They certainly cut down text on the dial. I don't know if that's why they did it, but it does help. I kind of prefer it. If you go on the Rolex website and you look at the Deep Sea, you'll see the kind of changes. It's one of those things that like Rolex nerds would notice, of which you and I both are. Would it matter to the average person? Not necessarily, but it does potentially make, I guess, the previous versions certainly separate.
Right. And maybe like the first thought that I had was maybe it's because they want to be able to take either or in a direction and not have it feel like it's tied to, well, if you did it to this one, we're going to assume they'll do it to the other one as well.
Oh, sure. Changes in the movement, changes in the bracelet, things like that.
Yeah. Theories anyway. Rolex be doing Rolex.
They do. Yeah. And don't try to understand it. Just go with it.
Just roll with it.
Okay. So let's talk about all that in context to all these new Daytonas.
Let's do it.
And this, pretty hard to keep track of everything because there's a lot going on here. Let's just start with the Le Mans.
Yeah.
So, debuted not at Watches and Wonders last year, but a few months afterwards was the White Gold Le Mans, the 100th anniversary of the Le Mans race.
Yep. Debuted at the race itself.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's cool. Kind of the part that's interesting about the Le Mans, in my opinion, is that it does have a modified movement. Instead of having a chronograph subdial that did 12 hours, the movement has been modified, so it goes essentially twice as slow, and you get 24 hours, so you can time the entire Le Mans race.
Which is a beautiful, just a beautiful nod.
It's really cool, but that White Gold one, no longer in production.
Less than a year. I'm thinking that was something they pumped them out once, shipped them out, and basically done after that. Someone told me, I definitely don't have this officially from anywhere, but someone told me that's like the shortest run of any Rolex production model of all time. At least in the modern age.
Yeah.
So super short run of the White Gold.
White Gold's out.
Yeah.
Yellow Gold's in.
Right.
Looks great.
It really does.
Looks great. Looks really cool. The White Gold one is, has shot through the roof. It was already worth a ton of money. It's worth even more now. I expect this Yellow Gold one to also have a brief life and also be worth a ton of money. Interestingly enough, the White Gold Le Mans you could find in the Rolex catalog. You got one of those books or you went on the website, you could find it. This new Yellow Gold is officially off catalog.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the White Gold one should have been off catalog as far as I'm concerned anyways. It might as well have been.
Yeah.
It was not really a production watch. I'm not really clear on what counts as in catalog, off catalog. I kind of thought it would have been a lot of availability, which that watch was not an available watch, the Le Mans White Gold. Maybe the idea with Yellow Gold Le Mans being off catalog is that it doesn't necessarily need to have production run in the same way, and they can produce as many as they want to over whatever period of time they want to. That's just speculation. I would be shocked if this thing was around in production in a year.
I don't think it is. I'm going to call it right now. Mark my words. I think they're going to discontinue the Yellow Gold just the same way they did the White Gold, and they're going to introduce a Rose Gold one.
Oh, okay. So that actually makes sense, and I will mark your words. The thing is, it's for the 100th anniversary. If they put out a Rose Gold one, that'll be like the 102nd anniversary when it comes out. I know you can still honor an anniversary after the anniversary. It just seems like
it loses some of the magic.
It should be 102-year anniversary Ever Rose Le Mans.
Yeah.
Can you believe we made it 102 years?
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
It also breeds this fear and worry I would expect of the hardcore Daytona collectors, that now the white one has set this precedent where it's yep, less than a year in production. Hey, we got a yellow one now that replaces it. Probably less than a year in production. And the prices on the white one, last time I checked, I don't know what they retailed for, but they hit $250,000.
The retail was like a gold Daytona.
No way.
Yeah, it was. They don't mark up based on that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's incredible.
50 grand or something.
So $50,000 or less. Secondary prices were, last time I checked, which was a couple of months ago, just for funsies. Not that I'm in the market, because that's a house. $250,000.
I heard $350,000 after the discontinuation.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm not surprised.
I mean, I just heard that. That's not...
Sure. I mean, asking versus what's actually selling for are two different things, but I mean, there you have it. What else?
So, lots of new precious metal Daytonas. Trapeze cut diamond bezel is available on all three colors of the gold.
Very cool.
Really cool. Very expensive. Several of those models, I think it's the yellow gold and the Everrose, also have round diamonds on the lugs. So a bit of case diamond kind of going on there too. It's only like kind of 3 or 4 round diamonds in like a line going up the lug. It's not like a full, bust down crazy diamond case.
Right.
But there's a lot going on between the entire bezel and the lugs. I'm
very curious to see how many we'll actually see in the wild, given that all gem set Rolex watches are hand set.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned something about like how this, or rather why this type of diamond is so expensive. It's actually like the most difficult to set.
The trapeze cut.
The trapeze cut, and setting it in the way they set it. Rolex gem setting is kind of second to none. They're up there with Van Cleef and others who are highly regarded in the field. This is a really, really difficult to not just set, but also cut. The shapes have to be perfect because when they came out, people thought they were Asher cuts or they were baguettes, or like they look perfectly in sync with one another. But it's just a challenging setting. It's going to look absolutely stunning. It's going to be a big look.
Right.
Because we're talking about solid gold chronograph, big diamond bezel. Like a diamond bezel is never subtle, but I mean, this is a large watch with a large diamond bezel. This is going to be a lot of look.
Yeah. But also for a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, if you get it on the bracelet, you're talking over $100. I think it was $123,000.
Okay. All right.
A very expensive watch. Interestingly enough, if you get it on the Oyster Flex, you have black around the subdials, similar to what you see in the current Daytona in line and steel, right?
Right.
If you get it in the bracelet, the Oyster bracelet, in gold, of course, it's tone on tone. You do not get those black around the subdials.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of variation depending on the precious metal, the bezel, and the bracelet. That's why if you kind of like look through the lists or however you're seeing it and you're like, oh my gosh, there's, like 15 new Daytonas. It's because they're not the same. It isn't just like, hey, here's this version and it comes in rose gold, yellow gold, white gold. Like they're each unique in that sense. And then whether you get it on the bracelet or you get on the Oyster Flex bracelet, they're different again. And there's a couple different diamond bezels at this point. So they've really gone deep into precious metal diamond set Daytonas. And here's why I like this.
Tell me.
Okay. For a very long time, the Day-Date has been the prestige Rolex.
Yeah.
It's only been available in precious metals. The President bracelet is a very exclusive bracelet, and it only comes on that watch.
Just ask Tony Soprano.
Just ask him. So that's the only, and that was the watch, right? That was like, if you wanted kind of, I don't want to say the best, but kind of, the big one, it was that one. It was obviously, it was the most expensive. It was the most likely to be seen in precious metal, but also gem set. We kind of now know about like gem set Daytonas and gem set GMTs, but they're still very rare and not common.
Yeah.
This is the first time since 2014 where diamond bezel has been in the catalog on the Daytona. And my thinking is that this whole play is to make sure we all realize that the Daytona is the prestige watch from this brand.
Now.
Well, it has been.
It has been, but now in a more official capacity, in that the brand itself is placing it on this level where it's saying it's the big one.
Because I think it's like, oh, it's in steel and it's for race car drivers and it's got this, race heritage, and it does. But that's not the role it occupies. It isn't just a chronograph version of some sort of Oyster Perpetual or something. It's the prestige watch. And so it should maybe look like the prestige watch. Right. I know people still are desiring after the steel ones, and they always will. It's obviously a lot cheaper and more wearable than, a big gem set gold guy. But the Daytona is the prestige watch.
Yeah.
It should appear like it is, and now it does.
That's a very interesting and very well-made point. It's a good lens to now see the Daytona through.
It is. And there's all kinds of new mother of pearl dials.
Right.
There's
Let's talk
both
about that.
black mother of pearl and white mother of pearl, and black with white and white with black mother of pearl.
Yep.
Again, going to what I was saying earlier about how mother of pearl for a very long time has just been put on, women's watches, and now it's on these big Daytonas.
I gotta say, I've always been intrigued by mother of pearl dials, that and meteorite, but mother of pearl, just the ability to say, hey, no two mother of pearl dials will be the same.
And I would also say that different brands source and show mother of pearl very differently. You can get mother of pearl on a very affordable watch. It's available on a Tissot PRX, for example, and it's available on, these prestige solid gold Rolexes.
Yeah.
And they don't look the same. Like, they're both clearly mother of pearl, but there is kind of like a gradation to this. I'm not a mollusk expert. I couldn't tell you whatever it is that makes these things different.
You're not?
I'm more of an amateur mollusk expert.
Okay.
But
okay.
There's a difference. I can see it. You can see it. They don't look the same.
Yep. I mean, it's a bit like, and I'm going to keep it with the aquatic theme, but it's a bit like sushi. You can have, gas station quality sushi.
Imitation mother of pearl.
Imitation mother of pearl, right? Or you can have super high quality sushi. It's interesting. And I for one am very happy to see mother of pearl just show up on the stage and be celebrated in that way.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not even close to touching all the different types of Daytonas out there. I would advise listeners to go on the Rolex website and play around and see what you like, what you don't like. This makes sense for kind of like the role that the Daytona is within the Rolex line currently.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, listener, please go and mess around with the Rolex configurator and see what the future dream Rolex looks like for you.
For me, it's one of those ombre dials.
You like the Scorsese?
Is that the slate one? It doesn't matter. Yes. The answer is yes. Whichever one it is. I really like them. I really like them. I really like baguette hour markers.
Before we go to your next list, I think I'm going to talk about Piaget a little bit if I can.
Oh, please.
They kind of stood out with their Piaget Altiplano Ultimate Concept Tourbillon. I don't know why I went French there for a second, but the wave carried me there. But this is essentially like a showstopper for me. I looked at it and I go, wow, this is what happens when the project manager or the producer goes on vacation and the engineers and designers just like run wild. They're like, sweet, they're not here and let's do the thing. It's the thinnest tourbillon watch in the world at 2 millimeters. It's finished in this blue PVD coated cobalt alloy, which I'm sure plays a role in the structural integrity of something that you're trying to build at that scale. I know that was something that they had talked about in their previous iteration. It is, by all intents and purposes, a marvel of engineering. To give you an idea of just how thin 2 millimeters is, it's as thin as a credit card. So it's crazy. The catch is that you'll need multiple credit cards, though, to be able to afford one because, well, if you try to look up the price, it says that it's upon request, which can only mean one thing for you and I.
We don't have enough credit cards.
We're buying 2 of them and they're matching.
All right.
Thoughts, feelings? What do you
Really
think?
cool.
Right?
Really cool. I'm not extremely familiar with Piaget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super impressed at this like wonder. I mean, it's always interesting and it kind of falls in one of these categories. And I actually wanted to bring this up to you because there's always a few things from Watches and Wonders that you go, wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where it's amazing. It's super cool. Not just that they made it, but they're making it into a production watch, which is next level, right? One thing to make one or make a prototype, but potentially someone can buy this watch and many people will, and they'll be able to wear it and have it, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's this kind of category of things watch brands can do. Mm-hmm. I don't think they said, man, Piaget, we're going to make the thinnest tourbillon and we're going to sell so many of these. This is such a good business decision. The business decision, which I'm sure is good, is to be like, hey, look at us. Look what we can do.
It's essentially a technical prowess flex. You should be taking us seriously. And I think brands do that every now and then, like Cartier will do that every now and then as well. Piaget is very similar to Cartier in that sense, and I think you'll agree in that some people will view them just as a jewelry house or a manufacturer of beautiful necklaces and bracelets and what have you. This is them going, Actually, we can do this if we really wanted to. Oh, and we did. And it's a production model.
Bulgari does some similar stuff,
right?
Both in terms of reputation, but also in terms of the marvels of engineering they put out, and it's an interesting flex.
Yeah, and it's almost, you see Piaget, you see Bulgari, and you see Cartier doing this periodically. It's almost like the yin to their yang of, we make beautiful jewelry-like timepieces. Oh, but that's not all that we do. We can, if we wanted to, make this crazy, insane thing, a tourbillon that is housed within a case that is thinner than your credit card. It's like they have to do that in order to remind people that they have the chops. They have the know-how and the skills.
There's kind of like, I always think of like some of these brands are sort of in a Cold War where there's this kind of like, you know, race to the moon or race for a certain level of technology, even if it's not to say, literally say, yeah, we did this and you didn't. But it is to say, hey, we did this and you didn't.
Yep.
You know, we saw that with Rolex and Omega going back and forth with, you know, the amount of atmospheric pressure their watches could develop with the Ultra Deep and the Deep Sea Challenge. When both those watches came out, it was like, wow, that's so amazing. And who wants this? Who was asking for this? Who's going to the bottom of the Marianas and needs a watch for that? But they did it.
Yep.
And that's really cool.
I think it's also partially a sort of like, I don't want to say beta test, but it is a way of flexing your prowess, showcasing your skills and your abilities, and then putting something out there in the real world that customers can buy. And then, you know, for me, I see it as like a halo product in a way where that technology, that know-how, those skills, the abilities that were grown on this journey of making this thing a reality, and even the machinery and the tooling required to make it a thing, will be used in a future generation product, right? Like, we've done this insane, crazy thing. We may not take all the things and all the learnings and all the components that have gone into making, let's say, the Deep Sea, but some of that will make it into a future iteration Submariner or Yachtmaster or what have you. Fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. And this can just be copy pasted across the board, whether it's Cartier, Piaget, or Bulgari, or whatever brand. It's not economically feasible or smart to invest literal millions of dollars into a show of force if you can't take that and apply those learnings into your future products.
Good point.
Thank you.
All I can think about when I see these watches, I wouldn't want to have that serviced.
Well, I mean, we did talk about it.
How many watchmakers do they have trained to work on that?
Probably one.
Yeah,
Right
honestly,
now. Probably
honestly.
one.
I mean, you know, they're not making 1,000 or 10,000 of them and expecting to get 1 or 5 or 100 a month in for repair, but
yeah. What else is on your list?
Yeah, so we talked about Rolex. We talked about a few other watches.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tudor.
Ooh, yes, Tudor, the darling child of 2024 Watches and Wonders,
And maybe the year before too.
and maybe the year before. I won't discount that.
Yeah.
Hit it.
So one that I think literally feels like everyone was asking for this watch is a Black Bay 58 GMT.
Yes,
One thing for sure, that bezel is not red.
it's not.
That's burgundy.
Right.
Don't call it red. It's not red.
Why can't we call it red?
There already exists a red bezel. This is not that bezel. And it is really not red.
It's not.
You know, like at some point we're going between tones here, but if you see it, it's burgundy. It's much deeper, it's much darker than a red, you know, than like Pepsi red, Coke red. It's different.
Yeah.
But man, really cool. 39 millimeters. Obviously, I've not seen one in real life, but I understand it's about as thick as the current 58. I'm assuming it's a little bigger, but like that's not been the kind of reports. It's got the steel bracelet with them rivets, well as a rubber strap. I mean, just this is, people ask for this watch.
Yeah.
Now the question is, and they're different, but they already have a GMT, you know?
Right.
The GMT is not the 58. It's a bigger watch. It's a different Black Bay. Yeah. So, you know, they do occupy different roles. They look different. They are available in different metals as well as those other GMTs. So I assume both will continue to exist, but so many people have wanted this watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And now they have it.
Now it exists. Really cool. Really exciting.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you, from your like actual hands-on experience, how many people will come in and ask. But actually, there's a little part here in this podcast where we're going to go, how exactly was Watches and Wonders for you? So I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to get too ahead of it, but like carry on.
Yeah. The other watch, which I think will be like of all the watches at all of Watches and Wonders from every brand, I think the new Black Bay, the Meta Cert, is going to be the most desirable, purchasable, wearable watch, period. I think the most of these will sell. I think enthusiasts will buy it. I think people who just want a nice watch will buy it. I think it's just awesome. You've got the 3-link bracelet. You have the 5-link bracelet. You have a rubber bracelet. It's 41 millimeters, which is a great size. There is a lot to like about this watch. The price is great. The look is great.
How much is the price?
I think it's $4,300.
And this is the monochrome one.
Correct.
Beautiful.
It's essentially a different color version of the full burgundy bezel that was released last year, except for it doesn't have the gold gilt. It has kind of a silver chrome finish to it. I've held this watch in my hands. It's awesome. It's beautiful. Not a critique. The only thing I was like kind of raising an eyebrow over was that it is a lot like a no-date sub.
It is.
I personally don't really like to compare Rolex and Tudor because Tudor is designed and produced to be a non-competitive alternative.
What was the famous phrase? I love it, by the way.
The shield that protects the crown.
The shield that protects the crown.
Which means you don't replace the crown.
No.
Right? I'm not saying it's the same watch. It's not. But looks-wise, it's really similar, especially if you just glance at it or you're only moderately familiar with either one of those watches. I could easily see you thinking that's a no-date sub. Again, they don't look the same, and I think pretty much anyone listening to this podcast would be immediately able to identify them, but most of the rest of the world would not. And that's fine. Like, many watches look similar, and again, they don't look copy-pastes. I was kind of surprised by how close it does look to a no-date Submariner.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But just knowing that they're a non-competitive brand, I was like, this looks really close and is a whole lot less money. Like $5,000 less money.
Yeah.
Like an entire another watch less money.
Like I could buy two.
Again, not this, they're the same. Like
Right.
you're getting something for that extra $5,000. Potentially a lot of some things, but yeah, it's pretty close.
100%. I mean, it's my second favorite release of Watches and Wonders 2024.
Really?
It is, yeah. I love the bracelet option. I love that you can get on rubber and you have multiple bracelet options as far as like the links are concerned. It is a crisp, clean, sharp, no nonsense piece that it's really hard to make a case against it. Why else? Like, if I'm on the market to buy even a one and done watch, this is probably like top 3.
Yeah, I could totally see it. 100%.
I dig it.
There's another, the Black Bay 58 and 18 karat
Yes.
now has a full bracelet.
We're talking about the full gold.
I'm talking about the full gold.
Yeah.
It existed previously on a leather strap.
Yep.
You now can have a big old banging bracelet for it.
This is the most expensive Tudor ever produced, right?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
It's beautiful, but expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly like a very discerning client wants this watch.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's hardcore into Tudor, who loves the Black Bay 58 and who wants that gold watch and doesn't want it to be from a different brand.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those watches like there's no reason for them to produce a huge amount of these. I wouldn't imagine you walk into a Tudor store and just see one of these. It's kind of like a special order kind of thing. Like if you know, you know. I mean, I think it's like 30 grand or something. So
Once again, I think Rolex and Tudor were like, we have too much gold. We have too much gold. We make the
anyone in ever all of time has ever said we have too much gold.
Well, yeah, but not everyone is Rolex or Tudor. So I think they're just like, we have too much. That's it. This year we're putting out 2 watches, one on the Rolex front, one on the Tudor front, full gold. Let's do it.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm happy it exists for whoever wants that watch.
Yeah. I same +1. I am excited to see it in the real.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I don't know if I ever will, but I'd love to see it. It's interesting that with honestly a very small splash, really just 2 watches, and one of them being essentially just another version of one that was released last year. They stole the damn show.
They stole the show.
But I think it's really just like people wanted these things. A lot of people feel good about these watches at this price, and that's really important.
It really is, because like Watches and Wonders is an insane showcase from all the brands, and we can talk about the Anlangonzone Honey Gold, but that's like a $250,000, $300,000 watch, which is very cool and impressive, and even the Piaget, crazy, insane. You're like, wow. But realistically, if you were to save some money to buy a watch that you saw at Watches and Wonders, it wouldn't be for most of us that crazy 2mm Piaget or, all gold, whatever.
Just set aside $50 a month for 70 years.
And it's yours.
You can put down a down payment.
It's yours.
You can qualify for a credit card that can help you get there. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that they stole the show in the way that they did, but I think it was just like people were like, oh yeah, that'll sell. Oh yeah, I'd wear that. Oh yeah, $4,000. I would spend that and be very satisfied with it. And I'm saying that as someone who spent their civilian money on this Black Bay 58 that I'm wearing, that I will never part with, and I just adore.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense. But again, it's we kind of get desensitized a little bit and you're like, okay, that sounds like a crazy, crazy complication. What a cool, showcase of all this amazing tech that you're shoving into this watch. I'll never own that. It's very cool. I'll never own that. So there's a certain relatability and a certain like magic factor when you see something that's pretty, you like it, it's not insane money, you could afford it if you really wanted to. So there's an attraction to that. So I think to your point, there's two watches really from the Tudor lineup that just kind of basically made them win the show.
Yeah.
Very
Interesting
impressive.
how that happens.
Very cool. And on that note, although Conor and I have a whole lot more to say about Watches and Wonders 2024, for the sake of time, we're going to actually wrap this episode here. Consider it part 1 of a 2-part special. Not to worry though, part 2 will follow shortly as we wrap things up. A sincere thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself and had some fun along the way. If you did, then please push all the buttons that will help you hear more of us in the future. And a special thank you to my co-host Conor. If you want to continue the conversation, you totally can. Find us both on Instagram. Conor's is Watches and Blunders, and I'm the Timist IG. Just remember to add those underscores between every single one of those words. Thanks for listening. I'm the Timist. Be well, and I'll catch you in the next one.